But I want to get into a few topics today, and I will, feel free to let me know any of your thoughts in the comments in the live chat as we're going. I will read them out loud to our viewers over on our listeners on Spotify, and we can have a conversation that way as well. But I want to get into a little bit of the election, nothing super political, just a couple of the facts to kind of wrap up the things that did happen and the things we did end up seeing, because I know there's some confusion right now as to what kind of even happened. And so, for starters, and then we'll get into some fun stuff too, by the way, once we're done. But for starters, the election so far, it's been called by just about every media outlet at this point, that Joe Biden is sitting with 290 electoral votes to Trump's 214. And it looks like Biden is going to end with 306. And we know that this was, I wouldn't say this was by no means a landslide victory for Joe Biden or the Democratic Party. What up, Darren? Love the podcast. Zach Hacker, what's up, man? How are you doing? Good to hear from you. We're talking election right now, so we're kind of just going over some of the facts. So we've heard these things been thrown out, these fraud allegations, and we're going to get into a little bit if those are legit or not. But again, I'm not going to really speculate. That's not really my place. So I'm just going to explain to you guys some things that happened during the election night that a lot of other people aren't really explaining the why. They're just telling you, no, this didn't happen or this did happen, but no one's really explaining the why. And that for starters is the apparent red mirage. This idea that the election was stolen. Now, whether or not there is widespread fraud, it looks like that there's not. From all the even GOP officials in every one of these states are saying no. And poll watchers in general are bipartisan, and it looks like every single one of these cities and or counties and states, for that matter, are these fraud allegations are going to go nowhere. It looks like, and so far there hasn't been any evidence actually brought to light. So just I'm sure we'll touch on that later, maybe next week if something comes to light. Maybe we will. And I want to explain, though, this red mirage that the way that a lot of these states looked red on the night of the election. And then as, votes came in, later that night, early the next morning, the following day, things switched around. And now I'm not some prophet that knew that this was going to happen just because I saw the future or whatnot, but this was a known known that it was going to happen this way due to the influx of mail-in voters this year. We knew that there was going to be a ton of new mail-in votes that we don't usually get due to COVID and things of that nature. And we know that those tend to lean more Democratic, meaning that more Republicans vote in person and more Democrats vote via mail, at least especially so in this election. So just want to bring up a couple of things. The idea, a lot of people think that, Wisconsin, Arizona, Pennsylvania, I think even Mississippi and Alabama are states that do this, where they do not start counting the mail-in ballots until the day of. A couple of them, and a couple other states, I think I misspoke. Arizona counts it like just the day before, starts counting them. But a lot of these states don't start counting mail-ins until after the election day starts. So they will receive all of them and not start counting until afterwards. And so what you see is they will count all the in-person votes first. And so a lot of a lot of these states were red to start the night. And then as votes came in and they started counting more of the mail-ins, they would either the race would tighten, or procrastinating on the highest level. Exactly. It's ridiculous. It's crazy that we have state-by-state laws for this. I think it should be a federal rule, whether one way or the other. Doesn't really matter. But you're right, Kevin. Kevin brought up procrastinating at the highest level for those listening on Spotify. Yeah, it's super important just because of transparency. A lot of people don't know. And I think that that's something that's really frustrating for some people that were watching the news and not understanding that, why is this happening, regardless of who you voted for, not really understanding how or why this is happening. And this is the why. Some of these states, like Wisconsin, which I am from, currently hosting this podcast in, we don't start counting the mail-ins until the day of the election. And so you saw the reverse of this, actually. A lot of people are trying to say that I shouldn't say a lot of people. It's a small minority, I think, at this point. But there are people saying that, how is Wisconsin red for the whole first night and then flipped to blue overnight magically, right? It's just that's the story that they're running with right now. And the reason is just because of that, because they don't count them until after November 3rd starts and continues on. And mostly they're going to be focusing on the ones that are coming in that day first. But Florida, like I was saying, actually we saw the opposite, right? Where Florida and other states have like changed laws recently where they will, as they get mail-in ballots, start counting them. Now they can't report those numbers until November 3rd, but they will count them as they come in. And those type of thing that's first off much more efficient. Way less workload on the poll workers and whatnot. What's Kevin Klitschko saying? He says, I agree with that. They should have all followed the same guidelines, especially with COVID and everything. All of the extensions make everything more crazy. Yeah, a lot of crazy stuff. And there's a lot of things too that a lot of people just weren't aware of, and now it seems, COVID has really messed up everything. Zach, you're absolutely right. I trust me, I know firsthand from losing out on a lot of opportunities due to COVID. But yeah, it's a lot of this stuff where this is not necessarily common knowledge, but in the people's worlds that like work these polls and do these things, they do see a lot of these things every year. Where like our military, a lot of military personnel that are overseas and whatnot, they have I think they have up to 10 days after the election to just mail in their ballot. I think I was reading, I think most of the states don't even have to get their final count in before, I think they have to get their final count in by the 10th of December. So it's really crazy. And that's how it's been. That's how it stood for however long. Now, usually we know much quicker than that, and those few mail-in ones don't really matter as much because it's very, very a less amount, I should say. There's not nearly as significant amount as there was this year, but again, that's due to COVID. So it's just kind of crazy, and I think it exploits the outdated system that we have for this. So hopefully moving forward, they can figure something else out that will be better, more efficient for everybody. But yeah, I just wanted to be super clear with you guys as to why that's happening, because I know even myself, it's frustrating when you just hear people from opposite sides of the spectrum just kind of shouting nonsense at one another and not really giving you any why. So I just wanted to let you guys know that side of things. Also, what do we got? I wanted to talk about there was a video that went viral on Twitter that a lot of people it was frustrating with the swing states. Yeah, it's definitely highlighted in swing states where you actually will see, when it's a 1% to a 0.5% difference, when it flips one way or the other, it's definitely confusing to a lot of people when you don't understand why. But I wanted to talk about, there was a video of the duplication station in Pennsylvania that went viral where some Kathy Ann, my daughter and I voted absentee ballot in person. When asked, we were told our votes would be counted last. You voted absentee ballot in person? When asked, we were told that that's interesting. Yeah. Duncan, how we doing? Duncan joins. Yeah, but that makes sense, I guess, because if you were in person and you got an absentee and then you turn that in, yeah, I guess that would make sense. But yeah, it's very weird. It's bizarre how they do it that way, especially here in Wisconsin when they can't count it until after they're counting, or as they're counting the in-person day votes, right? But there was this video that I wanted to talk about that went viral over on Twitter, where you had some right-wing figures reposting this and whatnot, not fully understanding what it was that was going on. And it appeared in the video, there was a man in Pennsylvania taking ballots, and it looked like he was, creating new ballots, like writing in his own things. And I heard there was votes in Pennsylvania from people that have been deceased. Yeah, this is something that happened. I'll get to that in a second. Kevin, remind me of that if I don't get to it. But so these what was I getting at? I was talking about the duplication. Yeah, right. So this guy, it looks like he's creating new ballots, false ballots, whatnot. And then it's later corrected because it's security footage that's being live streamed to the public for transparency, and people then took it out of context for whatever reason. And it actually was the specific duplication station where what happens is when you do a lot of these mail-in ballots and even in-person ballots that are paper ballots, the non-electronic ones, a lot of times, us Americans, we've all taken tests before. I'm sure Scantrons that didn't work right, or a teacher misgrades your quiz or whatnot, and so basically there are stations set up for when ballots are non-legible. They're not able to decipher who clearly who actually won or who was picked in this ballot, right? There is a station set aside for all of those ballots so that one person will look at it and they make a decision as to who this person actually voted for in every case, right? Senate races, local elections, and presidential ones as well, right? And so they make that decision based on what they see, and then that has to be checked by bipartisan people, so by one Republican, one Democrat, and then in some states it's actually checked by a third person. So in Pennsylvania, I don't think it was checked by 3 people, but it was checked by bipartisan people every time, and this was a duplication station. So I just wanted to clear that up because I know a lot of people were like freaking out and up in arms, and rightfully so. If you think something crazy like that is going on, you should be asking questions. But Kevin said, I heard there were votes in Pennsylvania from people that have been deceased. Yeah, I heard that too, Kevin, and in Michigan too. Yeah, the people using Sharpie also, it's just all corrupt because they wanted Biden to win. Big tech. Throwing a lot of words out there, guys. I don't know that, I wouldn't say that, I would say politics, where I would agree with you, Zach, is that politics in general are pretty corrupt. I don't know that we still have no evidence, actually like ever, of our elections being undermined by mass amounts of voter fraud. We do, in fact, and this is what I was saying earlier, how this election has exposed a lot of things to, like, as people I feel like are more tuned in, a lot of things that happen every year. We're just now all noticing them because we are now all paying attention, which is good. That's how democracy should work. We should all be paying attention to these things and all be plugged in. But that's something that happens just about every single year, and I think it's some ridiculous glitch in our system. And people are, I think, so in some ways there are people trying to commit fraud, but you have a lot of these ballots that do come in. I wouldn't say a lot. There are ballots that I've heard that come in from people that seem to have been deceased, and sometimes it's true and sometimes it's not. But they always get rid of and remove those deceased ballots because obviously that's an undermining of our democracy, and that's not something we stand for. And here's the thing that I really just want everybody to understand, and this is, I'm not any type of political figure, so I have nothing to gain from telling you this. The people that work as poll watchers and poll volunteers, it is, I believe, in almost every state it's volunteer, right? Like, so it's volunteer. And they're really working their asses off to do this, and it is bipartisan, like I was explaining in Pennsylvania and other states. I don't know if Pennsylvania does the 3 check, but a lot of these states, it's 2 people checking each ballot that are from each party, and then a third person coming in that is supposed to either be is made clear where their political affiliation is. So it's very transparent. Has it been officially called, or only media has called it? I believe he's won every state. I think there's some stragglers, like I was saying, military ballots have a little bit to get in. Some mail-ins are not going to be fully in yet, but it looks by percentage-wise that he's going to win because Trump needed to win Pennsylvania and others, and it looks like he is not going to win. Well, it looks like they already called Pennsylvania, and he didn't win Arizona, Nevada, and it looks like he's going to lose Georgia, so I don't know. But it's pretty much called for Biden at this point, where we are right now. Come talk to me in a couple of days, maybe it'll be a different thing. But again, I just wanted to clear that up because I know a lot of people, it is frustrating when you don't know, or even if you voted for, you wanted your candidate to win, or vice versa, and they don't, or they do. When you don't know the why, it's frustrating. Hey, thanks for watching there, guy. Click right over here if you want to see that episode in its entirety. Or you can click over here and subscribe to the channel. See all the other fun shit we do here. It's really up to you, guy.